Last night, you were being chased, or falling, or standing somewhere you shouldn't be, unable to move. You woke up with your heart pounding, and within minutes, you couldn't even remember the details. Just the fear. Why does your brain do this to you? Every single night? You might think dreaming is random, leftover noise from a busy mind. But researchers who spend their careers studying sleep have found something far stranger. Your brain isn't malfunctioning when it drags you through nightmares. It's training you. Here's the strange part. It's training you for a world that no longer exists. Consider what your ancestors actually faced 50,000 years ago. No streetlights, no locked doors, no emergency numbers, just darkness, and the very real chance that something with teeth was watching from the tree line. Sleep, for most of human history, was the most dangerous thing a person could do. You were blind, you were still, you were exposed. So why would evolution allow you to spend a third of your life in that vulnerable state? Wouldn't a species that slept less and stayed alert longer have survived better? This is the question that led Finnish researcher Antti Revonsuo to a theory that changed how scientists understand dreams. Revonsuo proposed what's now called the threat simulation theory. The idea is simple and a little unsettling. Your brain didn't evolve to give you nightmares by accident. It evolved to run threat simulations while your body was too vulnerable to practice them in real life. Think of it like a flight simulator. Pilots don't wait for an actual engine failure to learn how to handle one. They rehearse it first, in a safe, controlled environment, so that if it ever really happens, their body already knows what to do. Revonsuo argued that your brain does the same thing every single night. It builds a virtual world. It puts you in danger, and it watches how you respond. That's why so many nightmares follow the same handful of patterns. Being chased, falling from a great height, losing your teeth, being unprepared for a test or a performance. These aren't random glitches. They're ancient survival scenarios, replayed over and over, refining the exact responses that once kept your ancestors alive. Run from the predator. Brace for the fall. Prepare for public failure. Because in a small tribal group, humiliation could mean exile, and exile could mean death. Your brain doesn't know that the tribe is gone. It doesn't know you're safe in a locked bedroom with a phone on the nightstand. As far as your oldest neural circuits are concerned, the threat is still out there, and it needs rehearsing. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Not every mind reacts to danger the same way, and dream researcher Rosalind Cartwright spent decades studying exactly how emotion moves through the sleeping brain. Cartwright found that dreams, especially the emotionally intense ones, aren't just simulations. They're processing sessions. Your brain uses the dream state to work through unresolved fear, grief, and stress from your waking life. People going through divorce, she found, had measurably different dream patterns than people who weren't. The dreaming brain was quietly doing emotional labor while the rest of you rested. So the chase in your nightmare might not just be an ancient survival drill. It might be your brain metabolizing something that happened to you yesterday. A tense conversation, a deadline you're dreading, a fear you haven't spoken out loud. Your sleeping brain takes the raw, unprocessed version of that feeling and turns it into a story, one your conscious mind can actually sit with, even if only for a few disorienting seconds after you wake up. Why does it feel so real though? Why can a dream make your heart race exactly the way real danger would? This is where the biology gets fascinating. During REM sleep, the stage where most vivid dreaming happens, your amygdala, the brain's alarm system for fear and threat detection, becomes more active than it is during many waking hours. Sleep scientist Matthew Walker, who has spent his career mapping what happens inside the sleeping brain, has shown that REM sleep essentially disconnects the emotional alarm system from the analytical, rational parts of your mind. Your amygdala is firing, but the prefrontal cortex, the part that would normally say this isn't real, calm down, is largely offline. That's why a dream about being late for a flight can make you wake up gasping. Your brain is running the emotional program at full volume, with the volume knob for logic turned almost all the way down. And there's a reason evolution might have wired it this way on purpose. Walker's research suggests that REM sleep and the vivid dreaming that comes with it may actually help take the emotional sting out of difficult memories. You relive the fear in a safe space, disconnected from the stress hormones that would flood your system if it were really happening. Over time, this may be how your brain files away trauma and difficult experiences so that when you recall them while awake, they carry less of a charge than they did the first time. Your nightmares, in other words, might be a kind of nightly therapy session you never signed up for. Does that make the fear feel any less real in the moment? Probably not. But it reframes what's happening. You're not broken. You're not being punished by your own mind. You are running a program that has been refined over millions of years of ancestors who needed to rehearse danger in order to survive it. Now think about what actually shows up in your nightmares. Not asteroids, not alien invasions. The things your brain replays are almost always deeply, embarrassingly human. Showing up somewhere unprepared, being judged, losing control in front of others, being unable to reach someone you love. These are social threats, not just physical ones, and that tells you something important about what kept your ancestors alive. For most of human history, survival wasn't really about outrunning a single predator. It was about staying inside the group. A human alone in the wilderness, cut off from the tribe, was as good as dead. So your brain evolved to treat social failure with the same urgency as physical danger. Getting laughed at, being excluded, disappointing someone whose approval you needed. To your ancient nervous system, these carry the same weight as a wild animal in the dark. That's why the anxiety dream about forgetting your lines on stage, or showing up to school without your homework, or watching a relationship fall apart in slow motion can feel just as terrifying as being chased through a forest. Your brain isn't distinguishing between a lion and a bad first impression. It's running the same threat detection software either way. So what do you do with all of this the next time you wake up at 3 in the morning, chest tight, from a dream you can barely remember? You could see it as your mind malfunctioning, or you could see it for what researchers increasingly believe it actually is. Evidence that your brain has been quietly protecting you your entire life, running rehearsals you never asked for, processing fears you haven't fully faced, keeping alive a survival system built for a world that vanished tens of thousands of years ago. You are not haunted by your dreams, you are trained by them. Every night in the dark, with no locked door and no logic to slow it down, some ancient part of you is still practicing how to survive. And when the sun comes up and you flip that switch and the room fills with light, you won't think twice about how far you've come from the version of yourself who needed the practice most.